Hey, good morning. Welcome to another great Friday here in the desert of Southern California. Yeah, I know it's a little humid, but I think we're in for a little bit of a cooling down spell, maybe some less humidity. But check with Patrick Evans because he's the weather guy. I'm not. Hey, the reason I have you here today, or the reason I popped on today, because I want to share something that I started noticing this little bit of a trend that I want to share with you as a business owner so that you can actually get to your target and to your goals faster and less with using less money. Now, let me give you an example. This has happened before for me. For some of you who may or may not know, I used to be in the golf industry. I was a golf professional. I taught golf many years. And what I would find is people would come to me and they would say, I would ask them, hey, what do you want to achieve? And they'd say, well, I want to get my scores lower. And I would say, well, what do you think is the area that you want to improve on? They say, well, I want to hit my driver further. But then I would test where they are. And I would say, they're getting their driver out there well enough, but they're having a lot of missed putts at 3 feet. They're not chipping very well. Their bunker play's not good. In other words, they were wanting to focus on something that really had no direct bearing, because I could have added 10 or 15 yards to their drive, but at the end of the day, I would have failed them as an instructor because they would not have necessarily seen their scores go down because we really didn't work on the things that were causing the problem. Now, how does this relate into running a business and marketing? Well, I want to tell another little story. About 3 years ago, a client came aboard and he just wanted me to help him with some marketing. And I made a proposal and he said, well, it's probably too expensive. And he said, I have this email list. And I said, okay, let me take a look at it. And I looked at the list, and I think at the time he had about 2,400 names on there. A really good list. And I started looking at what he was doing. And he was sending out an email twice a month, and it was purely a buy me. It was a discount coupon to the same people over and over again. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying it wasn't as effective as what we did. But here is the message that this client was talking about. They said, I think I need to get more customers. Can you help me get more customers? And without the fact of he wasn't really willing to do any content marketing, which is what we do here at Swing Point Media. We help attract new customers using content marketing for local businesses. He didn't want to do that. He really didn't feel good about running ads on Facebook. And so I said, well, let's take a look at your email marketing. Well, first of all, he wanted to get more customers because he didn't think he had enough names in his database. I want to make it very, very clear. 2,400 is a large number for a local business. A local business can certainly do very well with 2,400 names. In fact, it depends on the size of the product or service that you offer, meaning how much money is it costing me to engage with your business to determine how big a list I have. I mean, there are some people that say, hey, well, we sell a product that is $2,000. And we do that once a year, and that customer has a lifetime value of 5 years, and they buy once a year. Well, you might say, I can probably get by with 1,000 names, maybe even 500 names if you take care of that list. Getting back to this customer, he really was, excuse my expression, he really was hell-bent on wanting to attract new customers. In fact, when I wasn't taking care of his email, he was reaching out and he would be running ads, let's say in the newspaper, and then he would come back and tell me how it didn't work. It didn't surprise me, quite frankly. People are not using what I would call old style media very much to find and make decisions. So what I did was this, and this is the crux of the reason I jumped on today. I don't want you to spend time chasing up potential when you have guaranteed at your fingertips. And what I mean by that is so many people have some kind of a database, but like an email database. I'm not talking about social media, you have a whole bunch of followers. That's not what I'm talking about, because you don't own that. Because if Facebook or Twitter or TikTok went off the air tomorrow, all of those followers would be gone. You wouldn't have any way to get a hold of them. I'm talking about assets you own. You own those names in that email database. So in this case, he was on Constant Contact. I said, let's switch this up a little bit. Let's start developing a relationship with these people, because I asked him, I said, how many sales in a year would have your business doing very well? And he said, well, we average between 800, I think it was 850 and 900 sales a year. I said, okay. I said, so what we're basically talking about is we're talking about over the course of 12 months, your database will engage and buy your service about 1/3 of the database. He said, yeah. And I said, well, how often should people buy your product? And he said, well, once or twice a year. He said, some people don't buy it very often. He said, but if you did it once or twice a year, it would work very well. Well, quickly thinking is like, the math is there. So we just have to take better care of engaging in that asset, his database, because those people on that database, these are people who have brought his service. They know, love, and trust him, and they've proven it with their wallets, giving him his credit card, giving them their credit card. So what we started doing is we started thinking how we're going to use email marketing. I am not a fan of getting a name in a database just so I can send content out there to spam them and say, hey, will you buy my product? Buy. There's a book on my shelf back here from Gary Vaynerchuk many years ago. He called it, jab, 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 right hook. And basically what that meant is there were 3 gives and 1 ask. So in essence, what we were doing is we were giving things like, all of a sudden we were giving recipes for his industry. He has a cleaning company for barbecues. And so we were sending out recipes. We were sending out ideas for them to care for their grill in between coming out and having them clean. In other words, we were giving them content that they wanted to open up and read. Now, here's what's happened. When we first started, he was at about a 22% open rate. That's not bad. That was about average for his industry. Not that there's tens of thousands of people out there cleaning barbecues, but this was an average based on what he offered. Over the course of what we've been doing, his email marketing is now let's take that back again. Okay, so let's say 20% just to keep it even. Now let's say he has 2,500 names in his database. If 20% of those people open up his email, that means 500 people, right? Yeah, 500 people will actually see his email. They'll actually open it up, right? So that's not too bad. But, or I should say, when we increase that to 55 to 60%, and again, let's keep it easy. Let's say 50%. All of a sudden, he went from 500 people a week seeing and engaging with him to now 50% of that database, which now grew to almost 3,000. So that's 1,500. So he tripled the number of people that he got to engage with every week. Now, what did that cost him? It didn't cost him anything, because that database was something he already owned. And his open rate was very, very high because they began to expect favor from Steve, favor from him, instead of always, hey, here's a coupon to buy. Now, did it mean we never offered something? Absolutely not. In fact, in almost every email, we had some kind of soft call to action. This is what happened. Just recently, he sent me an email, and he was talking about a period of time where normally there's not a lot going on. And he was saying that last year was one of his best years, and it's purely because he emailed. He stopped the other advertising. Now, I have to say something here I have to give a little disclaimer. He is no longer a client because his business, I think, his business grew very, very well, and then it became something that he's working to sell. And the new business owner has now started to do some what I'll call some old-fashioned marketing. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's in today's world in a digital platform, it's very expensive. He has 3,000 names in his database. By taking care of that database like we had done before and having a 55 to 60% open rate, let's just say 50%, that means 1,500 people a week would actually see his information and offer. And what's going to happen is at any one time, about 10% of those people will say yes. Well, it doesn't take a mathematician to figure this out to say, hey, that's a good business. Now, let's flip that. If you're the type of business that says, hey, you know what, my offer, and I'll say this on the flip side, another one of our clients that we still do business with, and they're very successful, is their average sale is between $15,000 and probably $25,000. They also have a database of about 2,500 names, people who have done business with them. We keep doing business through that and building content. Now, this customer did buy into the fact that they could have content coming to the website. I talked about that earlier in the week where, the average website gets about 414 visits a month. The average website, local business, averages 414 visits a month. This particular customer, when we first started with them, averaged 300. They now average between 8,000 and 10,000 a month. We don't do any more TV, no radio, no newspaper. It's purely this: email, written content, we make videos. And then we put it out on their social platforms, on YouTube and Facebook, and run a little ad to it just for views. And what that means is their business has grown exponentially. So hopefully I've driven this point home. Don't waste time on things that are not really moving the needle. So if you're thinking, hey, I need to go get more customers, but you have this database, which is a gold mine of people who have already done business with you, and you're not doing a good job of communicating with them and nurturing them and loving them, that's where I'd spend my time, because this part over here is less expensive. And the return on that probably will come pretty quickly. Now, if you can do both, you can say, hey, I want to build my database because I don't have a lot yet, but I want to spend some money over here to attract people, running some ads, maybe doing some list building ideas, using a lead magnet, giving something away, maybe running a webinar, whatever that is. That's a great idea. But your ultimate goal should be this: I want to make this database as big and strong as possible. Now, I don't mean 100,000 people. I've talked about 2 customers that have 3,000 names in their database. Think about the number of people here in the Coachella Valley, or in your area if you're not here in the Coachella Valley. It could be several 100,000 people. You're asking for a very small number of people, but these are people who have already voted and said, hey, I know, I like, and I trust you. Here's my credit card. So don't chase or work on things that are not really moving your needle. Don't be like that golfer I talked about in the beginning. They want to hit the drive further, thinking that's going to make their score go down, when really they could just become better at putting, chipping, and pitching the ball, and don't even work on driving. And not only would they see a score drop a little, they would see scores drop a lot. All right. Hey, my information is on the screen. If you have any questions or you have comments about this, I would love to hear from you. Please put them in the comment section or contact me. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and we'll see you sometime next week. Take care.